Hello, and thank you for listening to Macon Atlanta. I'm your host, Brent Macon, and this is where technology meets soul in the AI era. This is an episode where we look back at some of the key themes that came out through our 20-something conversations that we had last year. So listen up and enjoy. The AI era makes wellness easier and harder than ever. There are more resources online, including this video and anything else about how to be well, about your diet, about your sleep, all these products you can buy. Like, we're inundated with all these things, resources we've never had before that in theory should make being healthy and well easier than ever. And yet technology seems to want all of our attention that we will be willing to give it and then some. My episode with Natalie Gallagher, who's a TEDx speaker coach and consultant for the CDC, really highlighted this. And she asked, what if we treated our brains the way athletes treat their bodies? And, there's a popular story. LeBron James spends over $1 million a year, taking care of his body. And so we might not spend $1 million on our food and our health, but can we at least be intentional about curating what makes its way into our social media feed, when in the day we look at that, and what our information diet is, so that we can try to be regulated, treat our brains well, stay healthy, stay balanced, and live well in this AI era. In my episode with Vian Morales called Psychedelics for Normal People, she talked about breathwork being a really accessible way to experiment with some of the altered states of consciousness that people get from psychedelics without having to take anything. It really strikes me as kind of a hidden gem in the way that we're encoded. Just manipulating our breath and the way that you breathe in and out for some period of time, you can reach a different state of being and a way of feeling that's more peaceful and kind of profound, akin to taking psychedelics. I've done breath work at home and I've done breath work in guided sessions, and it is magical. I have a daily meditation practice, and never am I at peace in the way that I am after I've done breath work. It's like my whole system just feels much smoother, and I'm able to regulate my in-breath and out-breath, and everything feels peaceful in a way that I can't really tap into on a daily basis if I haven't done that breath work. So I'm really convinced that it's something that if more people tried and accessed, they would find some benefits there. I believe there's something transcendent for us in pushing past our physical limits. And it came up in my episode with Kyle and Brent Peace of the Kyle Peace Foundation, and also in my own experience running a 100K ultra marathon in Zion National Park this year, where you get to a place where you want to quit and you think you don't have more in the tank, but we have a reservoir of capability that goes beyond what we, might imagine and might feel limited by. But then you realize, as Kyle and Brent Peace said, you can go one more. Can you give me one more? Can you do one more step? And finding that place and overcoming that limit touches on something, to me, I use the word transcendent, almost even holy, where you just realize that there's more to all of us in our capabilities and what we're able to accomplish than the limits and the governors that we set on ourselves. And so I believe that. I've heard it enough times. I've experienced it myself. There's a real shift in perspective and belief and possibility that's out there for us. If AI could tell you that you were likely to die of an incurable cancer in the next 10 years, would you want to know? I think AI is already becoming our coach, our confidant, our coworker, and increasingly it's going to be our care provider as well. And I did an episode with Dr. Anant Matabushi of Emory's Empathetic AI for Health Institute, talked about how right now with a routine eye scan, AI can already tell you if you have Alzheimer's. And right around the corner is a risk profile for a whole host of different diseases and cancers. And so it used to be almost a hypothetical question. If you could know the day and you die in the future, would you want to know that? Well, those are going to move from hypothetical questions to very real decisions that we're going to have to make for ourselves and our loved ones. And also difficult calls that caregivers and clinicians are going to have to decide in how they message to patients. Because in some ways that could feel like an AI delivered death sentence. But all of our systems and the way that we message and the way that we live are going to have to catch up to the technology to make sure that there's just not a lot of external damage and heartache caused along the way. I believe Atlanta is uniquely positioned to be where technology meets soul. There were a bunch of episodes of Macon Atlanta in the last year that highlighted this. I think one of my favorites was with Steve Karst. He's the CEO of King of Pops. And I think if you're listening to this and you're from Atlanta, every single person knows King of Pops. Like, the Pops are ubiquitous. Everyone has seen the rainbow colored cart and umbrella. They're at the Braves game. They're in Piedmont Park. They're everywhere you want to be. And they've just built this institution through being playful and being soulful and wearing the shirt and embodying the values and really bringing people joy. We talked about how King of Pops is franchising. They're going across the country in the Southeast now, looking for people who are going to embody that same spirit of wanting to serve people well and want to create, magic moments for people. And that's the kind of one uniquely Atlanta thing that I think we should celebrate and we should look to do more of, even as technology, takes things that are made in Atlanta and scales them across the country and across the world. If AI and the technology era promise us godlike power, uninterrupted happiness, and immortality, is that the fulfillment of God's promise to us and what it means to have life to the fullest? I explored this question and others with the Reverend Dr. Tony Sundermeyer, who's the senior pastor at First Pres. And what became clear is that churches, faith institutions, and really any organization that helps us with meaning making in this modern era is going to have to figure out how they incorporate technology and what it means to have a full life and what it means to live well. And I think the takeaway of all of us is we shouldn't think about, here's my faith life and my spiritual life, it's over here. Here's everything that I do with technology and social media and work and productivity. Like, those are increasingly going to merge. And so I think increasingly in the future, technology will play a role in our spiritual lives and more of a role in our spiritual lives. And we have to figure out what exactly that should look like and how we ensure that it helps us live well and live a more purposeful and meaning-filled life, and ultimately connects us into the source of something greater and greater than ourselves. Thank you for listening and watching today. Those were some of the key themes that came up during our first year of Macon Atlanta podcast episodes. We're going to keep going, asking these questions and exploring what it looks like to live well in the AI era. We're talking to all different folks in and around Atlanta from different disciplines, different walks of life. As always, we welcome any input on questions you want to hear. Please don't forget to subscribe, throw us a like, throw us a comment. We appreciate the time and you journeying with us.